Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends and fans come together to BS, argue, occasionally agree, and discuss some musical artists. We've got to speed right through this because so many people got so many things to say about face dances that we're gonna hop right into it. Like, subscribe, all those good
All the
things.
jazz.
All that. Let's just jump right in. We got Tim, we got Heimster, I'm Jason. Lottie dottie dottie. Face dances, go! You never know what you're gonna get with us.
So
the
first album without Keith Moon.
Now y'all sound like Keith and Pete on that interview with that Airy show I was talking about.
We've always been very close to you and I.
No.
Well,
Very
one of the
like
things
most
is
of the things
in
that
the
I've
history of the
loathed
group
Pete Townsend.
is that Keith
This
and I
group
always
has no
incredibly
history,
well.
and I've hated
One
him
of the
ever
things
since I
too is
began.
since I've been doing the
Well, I mean,
bulk of
the thing is that he
writing,
does no writing, and I have to do most of it. You know, the thing
done
is
most of
that
the
of course,
lyric work.
he
Keith
keeps
occasionally
doing that. You
helps.
know, he thinks he does the lyrics.
Oh yeah,
Talking
yeah.
over each other.
Yeah, first one without Keith Moon. It's also noteworthy to mention that Pete had put out technically his second solo album before this came out, and in between Who's Next or Who Are You in this one, Empty Glass. I have it on vinyl here. I'm not going to dig it up. But yeah, Pete's embarking on a solo career. The Who have found a new drummer, Kenny Jones, from the Faces. Yeah, it's a different thing. The big hit here, You Better You Bet. This is the first. It's one of my earliest musical memories in life. I remember as a kid when the Columbia House stuff was going on and BMG, where you could get 20 tapes for a penny. I bought Who's Greatest Hits, the one with the Union Jack shirt on the front, because I knew that I heard this song in my head, and I was pretty sure it was The Who, and so clearly it's going to be one of their biggest hits. But it wasn't even on that compilation, so I just went, oh, it must not have been The Who. I'm still searching for it. And eventually I did find it. It's on Face Dances.
The You Better You Bet video was one of the first, among the first 10 videos they ever played on MTV.
I think it was the third. It was either the third or the sixth.
Yeah.
And it was the first one to get played for a second time. This was the first repeated video, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's some good stuff here. Entwistle's got two songs again, The Quiet One and You. I think they're both top quality Entwistle songs. You, however, is one of my favorites. I think that song's great. Don't Let Go the Coat is great. Did You Steal My Money is great. How Can You Do It Alone is great. Another Tricky Day is fantastic. That is top tier stuff.
Yeah, that became a big standard on their live circuit.
Yeah, sure. You're definitely missing something not having Keith Moon here. But Pete Townsend writes such great stuff that I don't mind it.
Yeah, it's
like,
lyrically a beautiful album. There's some beautiful poetry here. It's Pete emerging from the doldrums. And I think it's important to see it in its historical context. Heretofore, that thing that I had alluded to earlier in one of our earlier discussions, that death was something that was following the band around and, culminating in the death of Mooney, but also in the tragedy in Cincinnati. This is the first album after the death of 11 kids at Riverfront Stadium in Ohio. And it was a big question mark as to whether they would actually go on after that. A little background on that: the they went on stage at this stadium where the ticketing routine was called the fuck did they call it?
Festival seating.
Festival seating. Thank you. And when they went on to do a sound check, a bunch of people who were already crowded at the entrance, and there was only one entrance open to the stadium, thought that the show was starting. So they rushed that entrance. And there was a crush of people, and 11 people died and were trampled. And the band was allegedly not told that it had occurred until after they came off stage, until after the show. At which point Roger wanted to hang up his hat. He was like, well, that's it, you know?
Yeah, and unfortunately the way Pete's handling these tragedies is by really diving kind of headfirst into hard drugs.
Yeah, right. Heroin is a big part of his point.
Yeah. And another thing, and it's going to really come into play when we get to the next album, but I wonder how many of these songs and the songs on the solo albums during this time, a lot of them are pretty interchangeable, and I wonder how Pete was like, okay, well, this song is going to be a solo album, and I'll throw this song to the Who or something.
Right. Kenny mentioned that. He said, and it was either during the sessions for this album or for It's Hard, I forget which. He said, "Oh, you took all the best tracks and you put them on your solo album." You know, there was frustration there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the cover. Actually, I think the cover is really fantastic because it illustrates the very distinct personalities of the band. I think it was a great idea. It was the idea and the compilation were done by Peter Blake, who did Sgt. Pepper. And you've got some really famous artists here. You've got R.B. Kitai, who did that great drawing of Entwistle, the second one of Entwistle. David Hockney did one of the drawings of Roger Daltrey. So it's from the standpoint of it being a new era for the band, it was meant to reflect the same thing artistically on the cover. Why this album or the promotion for it ended up on the cover of Time magazine, I never really completely understood that, except for the fact that I think it was, you know, here's the Who moving forward without one of its appendages, or with someone trying to replace one of its appendages.
Yeah, poor Kenny Jones. Like the worst position possible. Replace the unreplaceable. And we should mention too, Rabbit, John Bundrick, is added to the live lineup as keyboard player.
That's right.
Not officially a member of the Who, but he's in a lot of the promo photos.
He's certainly becoming a part of their live sound.
Yes.
I don't know though. There's something about this record, and I don't think it's just the absence of Keith, but it doesn't. To me, it doesn't hold up as well as the past records. There's a lot of.
It's a very different album.
It's a very. It's the Who in the '80s almost. Like.
That's it.
I mean, you got some
and
great.
It is, yeah.
Cache is great. The Quiet One's a rocker. You Better You Bet. You know, I like the name dropping. You got T-Rex name dropped.
A
lot of the bite of the band is gone, though, to me. It feels like it doesn't have that Who punch that they're known for.
Well, and that's Pete going in a different direction creatively and narcotically.
But, again, it must be one of the bonus tracks on that album that you have, Tim, and it was on the re-release of the CD, which was This is what you're going to eat today, you got it in you.
Yes, yes, it's in you.
So you think that power chords are what we play? Well, this is what you're going to eat today, Virginia. And he's talking to you there, Jason. You know, you're not just getting power chords anymore here.
Another interesting bonus track from these sessions is a Pete written song called "I Like Nightmares."
Yes.
You're like, with a title like that, you're like, oh, that's clearly the Ant Whistle song. But no, it's not.
Yeah.
But some of that Billy the Kid stuff, like it sounds like Ant Whistle, but it's not. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't trust going by song names anymore.
No, I mean, it's a different band. They're clearly picking up some pieces emotionally.
The Did You Steal My Money, is that management
Must
related? Like,
I think at this time, if I remember correctly from Pete's book, he was kind of, I mean, obviously they had management issues in the past, but he was also going through a lot of financial problems at this time because he's financing solo records. He's financing the Who's live show. He's developed a heroin addiction. He's partying every night. He's like a man on the scene, Joe Jackson style, you know?
Yeah, he's also putting together this Mayor Baba Oceanic Center.
Mm-hmm.
And
which he lost a lot of money on.
Yeah. So he's stretching himself thin. There's a recent little 2-hour audio book of Pete talking about roughly this era.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about his, I think it's a little bit earlier than this, but his accountant coming to him saying, I just basically found a couple of $1 million in the bank for you. It was something that Kit Lambert had been socking aside for him, and he, walks out of this bank just elated, like saying, I'm rich. It's kind of interesting.
I have listened to that. I know what you're talking about, and it is a fascinating listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue, though, is it The Who? Because Keith is gone, and so like the original core is never to be heard again. But again, Pete just writes great songs. As does Ant Whistle.
The demos of this album are easily the equal of the album itself, and they show up on the various Scoop albums, and they're quite good.
Yeah.
But based on these 9 tracks here, this is all I heard. This one did not impress me compared to the past.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple gems here, like, Cache, Another Tricky Day. I mean, there's good stuff here, but this is not top tier Who for me.
Yeah, I would suggest that you listen to the demos for them, because again, you get this very strong sense of what he was, of the mad scientist Townsend producing these songs on his very own, and then presenting them to the band of, this is what the album is going to sound like. This is what this track is precisely supposed to sound like.
Oh, I mean, for 1981, it is insane as far as like the song structure, what's going on in the studio, what they've recorded to tape. It predates a lot of stuff that's coming in the 80s, I'll say.
Yeah. Much like they did with Who's Next the previous decade. They're setting themselves up to be a force, but as we know, that doesn't quite pan out.
The thematically, he's still picking up on stuff that he was talking about in Who Are You, with Cash. Did you ever Did you ever sleep in a bear pit? There's this more allusion to this being arrested and all of this business. So he's actually carrying over some of the stuff that he's clearly thinking about from prior material. It's sexual frustration with how can you do it alone. There's a neat live version of that in the re-release, which sounds nothing like the album version.
The album version, I was getting Billy Joel vibes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I love
also 1980 was Empty Glass, a Pete Townsend solo album, and this has Rough Boys, as Let My Love Open the Door, it has A Little Is Enough, Empty Glass. Like, it's a great album.
Empty Glass is far
better. I'd say this one's better.
Oh, but there's no contest. There's no contest.
So management was right. He was giving the Who all the leftovers.
A little bit.
I mean, if it was my name versus my band's name, I'd make sure my name had the best too.
He's putting all of his energy into his solo career at this point, and he is producing material with the Who in order to fulfill contractual obligations.
It's kind of the same thing Tom Petty went through too.
Yeah.
We kind of did a rush through the intro of this video, but these are our current rankings. I'll just go first. This squarely sits at the bottom for me right now compared to these records here.
I'm gonna agree with that.
It's gonna be on my bottom. There's still some great stuff here, but everything's come before.
Maybe you're dipping into the yellow.
No, not quite yet. Well,
okay.
I can't really say that yet without spoiling some things, but
Sure, gotcha.
This one might be a yellow.
Okay.
What the hell?
Yeah,
number 9, I guess. For now.
Yeah.
We still got a couple to go through.
It's subject to change, You could come back next, 3 days from now and we're talking about self-titled and Face Dances might be number 1. Who knows?
Yeah.
So stick around. Let us know what you think about Face Dances in the comment down below. Yeah. Be safe. Make good decisions.
Which would not include jerking yourself blind to the sound of old T-Rex.
Get yourself a merry hand. Get yourself a merry hand.